More than 600 aspiring athletes who had performed well at their own school carnivals stepped up a notch today to race against other competitors from 9 different regions, with the objective being picked for the state titles in November. Events were for juniors and ages from 8 to 13, and the big crowd cheered on their little heroes. And the overall championship went to the Manning district, with the defending title holders Crossroads a close second, with East Lakes third. There were also some outstanding individual performances, with Krista Jane Alxis breaking the 11-year-old girls' high jump record with a leap of 1.41 metres, 3 centimetres better than the old mark. Mindy Schlompke from Greta had a field day, with wins in the junior 200 metres and a brilliant win in the 10 years 100 metres final. In the boys, Robbie Gaylor of Wallsend recorded a time of 12.8 seconds, which equalled the record in the 12 years boys 100 metres. Organisers are confident that Hunter athletes will fare well in the state titles. Hello everyone, time to talk sport on Friday night, and of course the big news for Newcastle sports lovers during the week was the magnificent performance by Todd Wilshire to finish third in the World Solo Speedway Championship. Let's have a look at some of the action. Tremendous performance by Todd Wilshire, and we'll have a full report, about 3.5 minutes worth, on Sports Centre Sunday this week. Time to talk rugby league now, and joining me is Sam Stewart. And Sam, I suppose, two very, very important games this week, Manly and Brisbane tomorrow, and then of course on Sunday Penrith and Canberra. Manly-Brisbane first. Can Brisbane come back?
Yeah, it's a huge weekend. Of course Brisbane can come back. They've had a very big year. And of course, making the semi-finals, they won't want to come this far and dip out through a bad game. So I'm sure they'll play well. They'll be primed up, and besides, they haven't got Wally Lewis, but they've got a majority of their first grade lineup intact, and they'll come back strong. Manly
look awesome though. I think their backline is a very, very solid outfit, and their forwards really, outside of Roberts and Martin Bell, are a no-name pack. But by gee, they've done the job for them this year.
Yeah, probably the best thing about Manly is that they have strengthened their pack a little from previous years, and also the defence has really tightened up. Tremendous defence, possibly the best in the competition at this point in time. But Brisbane can score plenty of points, but the problem is they also concede. So probably the team that defends the best is going to win the game.
Okay, who's going to win that game?
Well, I'm going for Manly, and probably about 6 points.
Okay, on Sunday, Penrith-Canberra, everyone's touting this match as maybe a pre-run into the grand final. Do you see it that way?
Well, actually, I do. I believe that these two teams will be eventually in the grand final. Canberra, because they're such an awesome side, and they'll be doing it tough against Penrith, though. And Penrith, because they've been playing semi-final football, as Phil Gould has been priming them for the last 6 weeks, or the last round, in fact. And they've got the team and the discipline and the patience to get to the grand final.
Okay, who are you going to tip in that one?
Well, I'm tipping Penrith close, only probably by 1 or 2 points, but it's going to be a tough game.
Other league news during the week, Warren Ryan signed with Western Suburbs, and also Alan Jones, the rugby union great coach, signed with Balmain. Interesting move.
Yeah, big news. Josie's signing with Balmain. We often listen to him with the Knights and at work just for motivation purposes, and he says some terrific things. And Balmain have got a very good side anyway, and a lot of experienced players, and I think Alan Jones can bring the best out of Balmain, and I'm sure they'll be up there again next year.
Sam, very quickly, I believe you and the Newcastle Knights are awfully close to continuing the great relationship by signing.
Yes, I'm keen to stay in Newcastle, and sort of I've shown sort of towards them my enthusiasm to stay, and sort of hopefully they can do the same thing to me. And this time next week, hopefully we're sort of saying I'll be here in 1991.
Oh, that's good. We'd love to have you here, and thanks for coming in tonight and giving us your thoughts on the big matches this weekend.
Thank you.
Sam Stewart talking rugby league, and there will be more of Newsnight right after the break.
The answering machine was actually set up with our... No, just... Oh, right.
Each Wednesday for the next 48 weeks, Civic Park will host hour-long concerts, most featuring the best of Hunter young talent. Today, the Broadmeadow High School Band, 3 times National School Band champion, struck a chord with workers and families alike, who enjoyed the springtime delights of the great outdoors. The concerts are a joint promotion by Newcastle City Council and the Department of School Education, sponsored by the Newcastle Permanent Building Society. Deputy Lord Mayor Doyne Lanham said the Hunter is the school band's capital of Australia, and the concerts were a chance for students to perform professionally to a wide audience. Next Wednesday we'll see another performance by the Broadmeadow High School Band, followed by appearances of bands from Chatham High at Taree, Singleton High, Toronto High and brass band champions Irrawang Primary School from Raymond Terrace. Each band will be paid for their performance. It's hoped that other bands from here and overseas will also take to the Leafy Centre stage over the coming months.
It may look like fun and games, but it's all that and more. These Merewether High youth leaders are learning skills they'll soon be passing on to younger students who may not have had the opportunity to play many sports.
It's aimed at primary school students where they may go home to unsupervised homes and also to children who are not involved in community sport.
The Aussie Sports Fun program will begin in Newcastle next month when the 16 leaders will travel to Merewether and Adamstown primary schools 2 afternoons a week to supervise after-hours softball and T-ball games. They will be part of the scheme's pilot program in the Hunter, but come next year it should spread right throughout the region.
We have plans to commence sports fun units on the Central Coast, Taree, Cessnock and Raymond Terrace at this stage.
The program is free of charge and open to a total of 48 children.
The report detailed actions and inactions of hospital administration, referring to a 1988 study on asbestos contamination in sections of the Royal. 2 men, Safety Officer Norm Pritchard and former Building Services Manager Barry Gascoigne, were named by the report's co-author Tony Deegan as neglecting to ensure recommendations were implemented. However, the report did say it was unlikely any inaction by the hospital staff could have an adverse effect on the health of maintenance staff. However, union leaders still fear contamination of their members.
If the word unlikely is used, there must be some sort of a risk still there.
The HREA says the matter may not end here. While the hospital has promised a full environmental audit and a complete asbestos management plan, the union cannot rule out legal action.
If people start showing, signs of asbestosis, I suppose that we will be referring them people off to our legal people and we'll see what happens from there. So there may be more legal action. Well, there could be, yes.
Late this afternoon, Executive Officer of the hospital, Stephen Batts, said there would be no sackings over the report, despite earlier threats of dismissals. Peter Ryan, NBN News. It was definitely the right weather for the spring racing carnival, and thousands turned out for the meeting. Punters invested more than $500,000 on course on the Cup, hoping for a winner in the prestigious race.
The Newcastle Winfield Gold Cup is the richest race in New South Wales outside the metropolitan area. It's been a tremendous lead-up race to the major spring cups, both in Sydney and in Melbourne.
Local favourite Regal Shalar had been tipped for a win, but it was a visitor from across the Tasman who took the money. Our Magic Man took the cup from Donegal Mist and Macquarie Prince. The trifecta was $804.30, the quinella $94.10. It was only Our Magic Man's second run in Australia, and for veteran jockey Malcolm Johnston, his second Newcastle Cup. Trainer Jim Lee was never in doubt.
How did you see the race?
Oh, geez, I thought I was sitting with one of the fellas, I don't know, he must have been a punter, but I had him winning 7 furlongs from home.
Lady Martin, wife of the late Governor of New South Wales, Sir David Martin, presented the trophy to a connection of Sydney owners. Sir David had presented the cup last year. Our Magic Man will now be run in the Metropolitan in Sydney in October in preparation for the Melbourne Cup.
There were 11 nominations for this year's Women in Management Award. The 4 finalists were chosen several months ago. Norrie Stevens, Managing Director of Resource Planning, a local environmental consultancy, Lynn Mangofsky, Local Regional Manager of the Newcastle Permanent Building Society, Valerie Smith, Manager of Westpac's Electronic Services Division, and Kay Sharp.
Well, I think that Kay is an extraordinary woman. She is not a person who has looked for recognition. She's just quietly got on with the job. It has grown around her and she's grown with it. That is the sort of thing that we're looking for.
Reflecting the growing role of women in management, the guest speaker at the Novocastrian Motor Inn was Meredith Helikar, Executive Director of the New South Wales Coal Association. Her address was timely in the face of the current threat to the world's energy supplies during the Gulf crisis.
If oil prices remain at their current levels, then the signals are that many of our customers, particularly Japan, will be reviewing yet again its dependence on oil, and that will be a good thing for coal. But if prices move up a lot higher than that, then we have a real problem in terms of the effect on all economies, sending them into a recession, and therefore demand for all energy sources will be dampened.
Repair vans in the playground at Newcastle Special School will soon make way for students. The school community was moved to Waratah West when earthquake damage made buildings unsafe. But a final inspection today by Education and Public Works officials confirmed that the 30 intellectually disabled students will return to their familiar Cooks Hill classrooms at the beginning of 4th term. However, the future of another earthquake-damaged school doesn't look as bright. On the advice of Public Works engineers, the Education Department believes Wickham Public is unsafe and should be demolished.
The Government Insurance Office Managed Fund have decided to write the building off and offer the Department of School Education a cash settlement. That cash settlement will be used to help the repairs at other earthquake-damaged schools in the region.
The Education Department has submitted a demolition application to Newcastle Council. The Department of Environment and Planning has advised Council it has no objection to demolition. However, the National Trust thinks otherwise. Hunter Regional Chairman Peter Cummings says the Trust is absolutely opposed to demolition, claiming there's no structural reason to do so. They've called on Education Minister Virginia Chadwick to intervene to protect the historic Edwardian building. The Trust says other public or private sector uses should be explored. Meantime, a date has been set to demolish the earthquake-damaged section of the Junction Public School. The work is scheduled to take place from October 14. Under redevelopment plans, the students will get 10 new classrooms, a new library and a new administration block. Leslie Robinson for NBN News.
The gathering found just enough room in the town hall to conduct the ceremony after inclement weather forced a late change of venue. Contemporary military airmen joined veterans of an earlier and bloodier era in RAF history to recall the dark days of World War II when Hitler challenged British air strength in a 6-week air war, now known as the Battle of Britain. The gathering was given an echo of those days in a recorded air raid siren and the words of Winston Churchill. Newcastle Lord Mayor John McNaughton and RAF Base Williamtown Air Commodore Brian Weston both reflected on how decisive was the British victory of September 15, 1940 to the course of the war and ultimately the modern world. A planned flypast by RAF Hornets and a single Spitfire was postponed until next Tuesday, but veterans of the war and the air needed no prompting to recall those earlier times. Ross Richardson arrived in Britain a year after the battle. He recalls that even then the symbol of that struggle, the famous Spitfire, was already being hailed as a decisive factor in the victory.
Oh yes, I'm sure it was. A magnificent aircraft to fly, very, very light, very manoeuvrable and quite high speed for those days. Everyone who was reaching the stage of learning to fly a Spitfire were highly excited. We were very, very excited young men and couldn't get into the air quick enough.
In the women's singles final, it will be a clash of the top seeds, South Australia's Lu Yan and New South Wales' Anna Lau. Lau is the tournament top seed, and last night in the semi-final she struggled a little before getting on top of Yang Song from Queensland. Lau had to call on all her experience before winning 5-11, 11-love, 11-8. Her opponent in the final is the number 2 seed Lu Yan, who had no trouble in accounting for Rhonda Cator from Victoria. Yan raced through the first set 11-2, but Cator fought back in the second but couldn't hang on, with Yan taking the match 12-11 in the second. It's the same scenario in the men's final, with the number 1 seed Wee Yan of Victoria up against the number 2 seed Tim Ho from New South Wales. Yan defeated fellow Victorian Peter Blackburn 15-8, 15-8 and was never in danger of defeat. Tim Ho had an easier passage to the final with a convincing 15-10, 15-love win over another Victorian, Paul Stevenson. It will be a busy night for Ho and Anna Lau as both players are in the doubles finals and will partner each other in the mixed. 5 tumblers from the Waratah Gymnastics Club went through their paces today as they prepare for the daunting task of taking on the world's best in Essen, West Germany from October the 7th. Peter Christie, Elizabeth Heslop and Carmen G will compete in the World Tumbling and Trampolining Open Championships, and then Kylie Butcher and Kelly Marshall will join the others in Dillenburg, West Germany for the World Age Championships. The group have worked hard under the watchful eye of Keith Giddy, and they will depart next week for the national titles in Perth before heading off to West Germany.
The courts of Wickham Stadium have been the stage for some exhibition-class badminton. The men's singles final was won by Tim Ho of New South Wales against Victoria's Wee Yan. Ho was a Chinese Sports Star of the Year and is in Australia on a student visa. The pair played a brilliant match with Ho gaining the upper hand 15-9, 15-11. In the women's singles, Lu Yan from Victoria beat Anna Lau of New South Wales. Lu Yan is also a student and has been a member of the Chinese national badminton team. The ladies and men's doubles will also be played tonight, along with the mixed doubles.
It all began a fortnight ago with the teams competition, and this week the individual events have been held with a high standard of badminton played. While Victoria were successful in the teams event, Tim Ho from New South Wales stole the Australian Men's Singles Championship. A former Chinese Sports Star of the Year, Ho grabbed the first set from Victoria's Wei Yan 15-12 and had his sights firmly set on the title. Yan tried hard in the second set, but Ho was relentless in his endeavours and wrapped up the match in straight sets, 15-12, 15-10. In the women's final, it was South Australia versus New South Wales, but this time a win for the Crow Eaters' Lu Yan. Yan has been a member of the Chinese national team and was seeded number 2 for the tournament. Using her height to full advantage, she was never really in trouble by the top seed Anna Lau from New South Wales. Yan raced through the first set 11-7 and completed the demolition job on Lau in just over 20 minutes, winning 11-7, 11-2. Around 260 devotees of karate are gathering at the Newcastle Showgrounds for this weekend's New South Wales Kashiki Titles, which is a full contact tournament. Encompassing the various styles of Shido-Ryu, One Zone, Karinzi-Ryu, Agi-Kan and Kensei-Kan, emphasis is placed on the safety of all competitors who range from juniors to some of the most experienced combatants on the world circuit. Not only will each participant engage in full contact bouts, they will go through a routine of moves known as kata, where points are awarded for technique, balance and application. Hours of practice are required for the kata, and today strong performances in all categories were on show. Tomorrow the seniors take centre stage with the contact bouts sure to be some of the best seen in this country for a long time.
Plans for an entertainment and exhibition complex for the Newcastle Showground have been on the drawing board for the past 2 years. Originally conceived as a home game venue for the Falcons basketball team, the concept has grown to a multi-purpose building. With flexible seating plans, the hall will be able to seat 5,000 people at concerts and indoor sporting events, or convert to 5,500 square metres of open floor space for trade shows and exhibitions. Once built, the facility will be self-funding, with future profits to offset the high cost of the showground complex. The go-ahead was made possible after State Treasurer and Premier Nick Greiner agreed to a funding package. At a meeting with the Showground Trust in Sydney today, the Premier announced a $2 million no-interest loan with the balance at a subsidised rate from Treasury. The total cost of the project is expected to top $8.5 million, including $1 million for acoustics inside and noise control outside.
I suppose the fact that, particularly in terms of the aftermath of the earthquake, it struck me as useful for there to be a fillip to the hunter in areas like sport and entertainment, recreation, where a centre like this would help. But also, I just thought the Trust, which had been working at it for the better part of 10 years and had basically got nowhere, it seemed to me they deserved to go.
For Trust Chairman Jim McGecky, this is the culmination of 10 years' work at a time when the Showground's future was under a cloud.
It's equipped with all the essentials acoustically to cover a very wide range of activities.
I'm over the moon on the news, and I know Newcastle and the Hunter region is going to appreciate this for many years to come.
With the finance now in place, all that's needed is formal council approval. But the Showground Trust is confident work can start on the project within 2 months. At Parliament House, Sydney, John Church for NBN News.